all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once, and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie.
And each week, we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird.
Welcome, Weirdos, to episode number 50 of the History for Weirdos podcast.
We are finally here at our 50th episode.
And this is such a monumental, big episode.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, when we started out, I didn't think we were going to reach this. Just be completely honest.
No, we didn't really have a ton of expectations when we were starting out, so this is a very special milestone to reach, and we're really excited to celebrate our 50th episode with you all by doing our Ask Us Anything. So a ton of folks submitted their questions.
Right, and I tried to organize them as best I can. I also, a lot of questions were kind of either similar or duplicative, and so what I did is I sort of sorted them and put them into categories.
Cool. And Andrew has seen all of them, obviously, because he just explained he organized them. I am not familiar with most of the questions, maybe just a few, so I'm really going off the seat of my pants. Is that it? The flight of my cuffs?
I don't really use either of those terms. Expressions? Thank you. Jeez, I can't do words.
Oh, I'm winging it. That's it.
You're winging it.
I'm really winging it with these answers.
I'm going to wing it too, because I didn't do any research or anything like that. So okay. I'm absolutely winging this as well. Okay.
Then let's get started.
Okay, well, the first question is, not surprising. How did the podcast start? I kind of remember this. Well, do you want me to answer it?
Go for it.
Okay. So I used to be in consulting, and I'd have to fly every single week. Mm-hmm. Every single week I was away from home, Monday through Thursday. It was... The first 2 weeks was kind of cool, and after that, it got really old really fast.
And what year was this?
This was back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had a particularly tough week where I was working it was absurd, 15, 16-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephanie just emailed me, and she's it was just she went on this rant, and she's like, you know how we have these really weird conversations? Why don't we start a podcast?
Yeah.
And let's just record them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the gist of it. I mean, obviously there's a little bit more to it, but we're just okay, let's do it. And then we hired a graphic designer to help us with our logo.
Yes.
And I just did a bunch of research into how do we even create a podcast? What tools do we need? How do we upload it? And we just we did it. We just announced to everyone one day we have a podcast, and the rest has been history.
Yeah. And then I guess on my end, I can explain that with Andrew being gone all the time for work, I was in grad school at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like we were really disconnected. Not because we wanted to be, but because you were always gone. And then when you were home, I was crying and studying because I was in grad school. And I wanted us to have a nice, fun bonding thing. And I think I had spoken to someone, or someone said something about oh, I'm starting a podcast with my best friend. And I remember feeling jealous. And I think jealousy is always a really interesting emotion to follow. And I was I want to start a podcast with my best friend. And my best friend happens to be you.
Nice.
And then I was well, we're so different.
We are.
We're very, very different. Our interests are very different typically. I was but what do we end up talking about? And truly, it was weird history stuff. We tend to, I'm sure you all have noticed, we tend to be drawn to different topics in history, and we love just going on these long rants together, usually on the weekends over a cup of coffee,
mm-hmm.
about history. And I thought, why not record it and see if anyone else is entertained by our madness.
And we're so happy that you guys are.
Yeah.
Thank you. So next question is, how did Stephanie and I meet?
Should I tell this one?
You can tell this one, yeah.
That's a very good question. It was not love at first sight.
It was definitely
I
maybe
could
for me and not for you.
Oh, that's sweet. I could say that. We met while at undergrad at the University of Southern California, USC. Andrew was just a few weeks away from graduating.
Yeah, I was a senior.
And I was exiting my junior year of college, and we were set up on a blind date to go to an event with my sorority. And we did not hit it off at first.
No.
But I did express to Andrew that I was like, on the date, I was like, I don't think this is working out. I'm not too interested. And he asked why. And I shared my initial impressions of him. And he felt like you thought that wasn't like an accurate representation of who you were.
Right.
And you're like, I'm going to try better to show you who I am. Will you give me another chance?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then I feel like very quickly after that, and you must have been nervous, and it's so weird dating and being in college.
Exactly. And I really liked you, and I think I was trying to like act cool.
That's
but
so sweet.
Ironically, that was what was screwing me over. And me just being a normal goofball.
Yes.
And being like, I love the ocean. Literally, we bonded over the ocean.
The ocean and German shepherds, and nerdy stuff. The more I found out that he was a nerd and he liked like Marvel and Star Wars, things like that, the more I fell in love with him. And we just that summer we very quickly fell in love.
Yeah, like very quickly, I'd say.
Super cheesy, but
Yeah,
definitely a summer love.
We've been together for 8 years now.
Yes. 8 years married for 5 years.
Yes.
It's been chill. I like him.
Yeah, she's all right, I guess. Okay, so next question is, why did we get Stella? Not like how did we get Stella, like why? And that's actually, I think, a better version of the question. Because like sometimes we ask ourselves, why did we get her too?
That's such a
Like,
good question.
don't get us wrong, we love Stella.
We do.
We love her to death. But she is a weird dog. And I guess, this is the History for Weirdos podcast. But man, you guys don't understand. She is a strange animal.
We made her the little mascot of our logo. If you look close, it's Stella winking, because we're like, she's so weird. She has to be the mascot of History for Weirdos. She's afraid of everything. She's afraid of rain, fire hydrants, balloons. Any sound really terrifies her.
Right, like people. Not kids, especially little kids. She's actually really likes them.
She likes little kids. She hates all other animals on Earth. She's just very peculiar. And we always tell people that, and they're like, oh, I bet she's not that weird, until they hang out with her, and she's just very weird. She's almost cat-like, I'd say, in that in
the worst ways.
Yeah, she can be really aloof and socially awkward. But she's not independent. She's very needy, and she has a lot of separation anxiety. So why did we get Stella? That's a really good question.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that.
We both are dog lovers.
And she was really cute.
And she was really cute. You know what it was?
Why? What?
We lied to ourselves, and we said we were going to go to the local adoption place. It was like a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And we're like, we're just going to go and we're going to look at the dogs. We're not going to get any dogs. And then we got Stella, so we lied to ourselves. We weren't planning on getting a dog. We had a very small apartment and a bird, so it's not wise to get a dog in that situation, but we did. We did.
Because we're ultimate weirdos.
Yeah, it wasn't a wise move, and so this question is very poignant. It's a good reflection question for us.
That was... I know, and I particularly just really enjoyed that question because it wasn't why. I'm like, yeah, it's a good question.
But overall, I'd say the answer to why is because we're big animal lovers and big softies.
Yep, that's a really good summary right there.
Mm-hmm.
So what time period or time periods do we find the most fascinating?
You go first.
Well, yeah, for me, I mean, I had a TikTok that was dedicated at first just to ancient Rome. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that one's a little bit more obvious for me. But to be fair, I'm just a really big ancient history guy. So I include classical history in that era. So classical Greece and Rome for sure. But then also ancient Mesopotamian history. I'm like, I cannot get enough of it as well.
Yeah.
And even Persia as well.
You know a lot about Persia.
I know a lot about Persia, like especially the Achaemenid Persia. Even a little bit about like as much as anyone really can know about like Elamite. So that's like Iranian empire before Persia. Well, before the Iran, there was an empire from before Persia, and then it's before that even. So
it's old school.
It's really old school, yeah. So just a lot of ancient history. What about you, babe?
Our answers are gonna be so different.
Yeah.
I tend to really like. I'll go from most recent back, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I really love the study of, and for anyone who was alive during this time, I'm very sorry, but I love the study of classic rock in the 60s. I took a lot of classic rock classes in college, and I just really like that in terms of music, particularly the United States, and just, to me, it's so fascinating and incredible. And then next would probably be, I really love the 1920s all around, all over the world. I think it's a really, really interesting era to me. I think it felt so new and innovative to the people of that time.
Yeah.
And it's just so antique-y to us. And I think the art and the architecture and, again, the music, I love big band jazz, are so beautiful. And then I really like some of the weird stuff that comes up in like Victorian era England specifically. There's like, it was just such a socially conservative, almost repressive time, but there were these like really weird things that came up from it.
It's like the cracks
In that, I love that so much. And then I tend to be interested in eras because of specific figures. So I'm really interested in all things related to Marie Antoinette and her and the court, and just France at that time, actually, during the Revolution and prior, as well as because of the show, I started getting really interested in Catherine the Great. I think she's a fascinating historical figure. And in terms of ancient stuff, for me, it's more, I'm getting really interested in learning a lot more about indigenous history to Mexico. As I've mentioned before, my mom's from Mexico, and ever since we did our DNA test and stuff, and I've learned more about my indigenous heritage, and I've asked like my elders in my family and stuff like that, I've actually been really interested in researching the history, specifically for the Purépecha people, which is in the region of Michoacan, Mexico. That's my answer.
That's dope.
Very different.
Speaking of indigenous, like one of the most fascinating civilizations, I think, comes from South America in present day. I think it's Peru, or Chile. I can't remember exactly which modern day country, but it's called the Norte Chico civilization, and it's so old. It's like on par with like Sumeria.
Yeah.
Like it's that old, and it was an advanced civilization, and that like no one really ever talks about, because I mean, to be fair, we know nothing about them.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, but they were an advanced civilization at the time where like multi-building complex structures only existed in like present day, like a very, Sumer, like a very small portion of southern Iraq, right? And Norte Chicos.
That's
and that
so
was it.
nuts.
That's it.
And they're so different in terms of geography. Obviously, They did not cross paths to be like...
Did not at all. Yeah.
Influenced by each other. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I love that stuff. Okay, so we did time period, but one person asked, are there any historical artifacts that we find interesting?
Artifacts?
Yeah, artifacts. I can go first.
Yeah, go. That's such a good question.
The one I've been obsessed with, I think, since high school. It's from ancient Greece, the Hellenistic period. So I think it's 2nd century BC, if I'm not mistaken. It's called the Antikythera mechanism. It's basically the world's oldest analog computer.
What?
Yeah, it like even today, like it boggles the minds of historians and scientists alike. Like they're like, how did they even like create something like this? No, it's not aliens. Don't even get me started on that.
It's totally aliens.
But it's fascinating. It's completely fascinating.
Wow.
I can't even like I think I'm doing a terrible job of describing it because
No, my mind's blown. As
I
I'm,
don't
like, just
even
thinking about
understand
it.
like how they could make something like that. It's just nuts. The Greeks were very fascinating because they went from like a pastoral society, like in the mid that barely relearned how to write in like the mid 8th century BC to Alexander the Great. What, like 500 years later? Not even 500 years later, like conquering, the entire regions of like Egypt, Mesopotamia, Iran, all the way to present day Afghanistan and Pakistan. Like nuts. It's absolutely insane.
That's really cool. My answer is very different. Again,
Yeah.
yours is very specific and very technical. And I actually interpreted that question as more of like a thematic type of artifact.
Oh, okay.
And so I originally thought, I'm always fascinated, super girly, of course, when we go to museums and stuff, to see jewelry.
Oh, I love jewelry.
Right?
Yeah.
And I love that, like, throughout history across the world, jewelry was like such a form of self-expression and really depicted so much of like what people found precious and valuable, and it's always been associated with like status.
Yeah.
And it used to be across the world as well, something that both men and women wore all the time to adorn themselves. So I think jewelry is really cool and really fascinating. So thematically, that's what I thought of. But I don't have like a specific item like the one that you talked about, or like I'm not interested in like a holy grail type of like mysterious thing.
Right.
I'd say the closest thing, and it's not necessarily an artifact, is we were just talking about it and you just mentioned it a little bit right now, is the tomb of Alexander.
Right.
Alexander the Great, the tomb that all of a sudden was lost, as you were explaining to me just the other day. Mm-hmm. To me, that's extremely fascinating, and I could definitely get lost in an internet rabbit hole trying to figure out like what people think happened or where it could be or what's going on there.
Right. And I love in Moon Knight. If you guys haven't seen that show, you guys should absolutely see
on
it.
On Disney Plus.
It's not really a spoiler because it actually doesn't play a big point in the plot whatsoever. But they find the tomb of Alexander the Great, and they kind of just are like, "Oh, that's cool," and then moving on. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, we were both losing it. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god! Like I thought the show was gonna take a shift in that direction.
Yeah.
But it was like a blip in the
Yeah.
in the plot.
I know.
So I think that's fascinating.
It definitely is. Okay, so what do we love most about making this podcast?
Oh, that's such a sweet question.
That's a very sweet question.
It's so positively framed.
Honestly, I love it for two reasons. Like, one, I get to hang out with my best friend.
That's me.
And talk with her.
Yeah.
And two, we get to talk about history. It's
Yeah.
like, what else could there be?
I really
in
like
life?
that. Yeah. In life. I really like that, and I'd say a very pleasant surprise of something that I really like about the podcast and about making it is when we hear feedback from you all, when we get messages and comments and questions and stuff. I think so many of us really see the internet, the interwebs, as a place of negativity, unfortunately. And so at the beginning when we started doing this, I would have guessed if like people who were strangers to us were listening, they'd be much meaner,
More critical.
more
Yeah.
critical. But gosh, oh my gosh, we've met such nice, interesting, intelligent people, like really cool humans through the podcast. So that's been a really unexpected, pleasant surprise.
Yeah, you're right. It really has. Like, you weirdos are awesome.
Yes. So nice, so encouraging. They have such interesting like feedback and perspectives.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. I'm very humbled by it, to the point where sometimes Andrew will read me like a comment or message or something and we both get like emotional.
I know when you guys say like you're binging our episodes, like
Yeah.
I don't think there is a higher compliment. Like, it's just like, oh my God, like, thank you so much.
We're very honored.
We're so honored. Wow, I know. words like I mean, literally, I'm just like babbling.
You're a podcaster.
I'm
Get
a
it
podcaster.
together.
I know, seriously. I know. Speaking of which, I'm like so behind on answering emails. I'm like literally months behind. So I promise I'll eventually get there, guys. Promise.
We will catch up.
Yeah. Okay, so how long does it take to produce an episode?
Ooh.
That one's hard because like there's multiple
question.
aspects to it, right? There's like the research. Mm-hmm. So if you count like on an average episode, let's just say like in an average like 35-minute episode, I'd say you have to do at least a few hours of research.
Yeah.
Plus the recording itself. We usually can do it in like one take. We've gotten pretty good at it.
Yeah, I'm sure you all have noticed we don't edit very well because of all the ums and ahs and awkward pauses.
That too.
So we just kind of do it. So however long the episode is almost exactly how long it took us to record it. I'd say
Right.
the longest part is research, and then we record, and then we do show notes and link anything pertinent. Mm-hmm. And then I typically forget to like post about it on Instagram. So then I have to remember. I don't know. That's a really good question.
I mean, I'd say on average, like, I mean, because we have to research and then write out the notes. That's the most labor intensive, I'd say.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I'd say like 7-8 hours.
Yeah.
Roughly.
I would think so.
Yeah. So it's definitely, it takes some time, but it's.
Probably 8 hours.
But
right.
the thing is, like, it's worth it because I don't really see it as like work. It's just something that I just really like doing.
Yeah.
And if like, again, it's not work. I don't see it as work.
I'd say the most stressful aspect of production for me is if it's my week and the story or the topic that I've picked is really layered or really important to me for some reason and I want to get it right. So then the research part takes longer.
Yes.
Because I'm like, oh, I need to, I really want to do this justice, essentially.
Right.
And I hope that I can. So that's probably the most stressful part because you're right. Everything else doesn't feel like doing work.
I know. For me, it's like the people that I really admire and like I really want to do them justice. I remember like Lawrence of Arabia was one. Zenobia, I just did her the other day.
Those are great.
Yeah, like, I just really admire those historical figures and I'm like, oh man, I really got to make sure I do this right. Mm-hmm. Especially Zenobia. That one was tough because again, we're using like ancient sources, right? Lawrence of Arabia, like, that's obviously much more recent.
Yeah.
And, there's just a variety of sources and it's pretty well documented. But with like Zenobia, it's just all over the place. And then, of course, the one like primary source. Yeah, primary source. Yeah, thank you. The one primary source is the story of Augusta, which is just a joke. So
damn,
it's not a joke. Okay, that's
talking.
That's pretty harsh. I wouldn't say it's a joke, but it's littered with inaccuracies. So there's that. Yeah.
You're such a nerd.
I know I am. I mean, it's a history podcast. Of course I'm a nerd. So what topics are we planning on covering in the future?
Really good question.
That's a very good question.
Do you have any that come to mind right away for you?
I know I typically do a lot of like ancient history stuff and I'll probably continue to do more of those, but I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on recent like 19th, 20th century history topics.
Yeah.
In just like the near future. But besides that, I kind of keep it open. And also, a lot of you guys have given us really good recommendations.
Yeah, we got to
go
through those.
Yeah, so like we have like a running list of those, and I think I'm going to make it a little bit tidier. Mm-hmm. And so we'll probably, like, if you guys want a topic, by the way, please just let us know. And we've done, like Maud Wagner was a listener suggestion.
Yes.
And that was actually one of my favorite ones, I think.
I agree. I'd say that's something that I'm thinking of more too is looking at what suggestions we've had because we essentially both kind of have kept a running list of people or topics or stories that we want to cover. And I feel like I've made my way through mine at least.
Yeah.
There's ones I just mentioned that I'm really interested in the kookiness of Victorian England. There's a story that I know from that era that I want to do.
Ooh, nice.
It's really weird. And then after that, I really want to do more listener suggestions because we've gotten so many good ones. So if you have one, please let us know.
Yes. Okay. Next question is, what is Stephanie's top secret project? Remember that you mentioned that like a while ago? I think it's time. I think you can talk about it, right?
I think so. I don't know how much I can talk about it.
I think you should give them as much as possible.
I'll tell them everything.
Yeah.
So that all started December 14th, 1992.
Oh God.
In Venice, California. No.
That's her birthday, by the way, everyone.
Birthplace.
Yeah.
I wrote a book. I've written one book previously. It was a mental health poetry collection. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned that before. But I wrote a second book this year with a publisher, and it is not a history book because no one in their right mind would let me write a history book. You've all heard how I cannot keep track of dates. It is, as I've mentioned before, my day job. I moonlight as a podcaster, but during the day, I'm a therapist. So this is kind of like a mental health themed workbook. And once that's out and I can talk more about like the topic and the benefits that I hope that the workbook provides, we'll totally link it for you all.
Yeah.
It'll be accessible pretty much anywhere you get books. And I think it's going to be really cool and helpful. Obviously.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I mean, I remember when she was writing it, they were like working her.
Oh my God.
They gave her really strict deadlines.
Oh yeah, that's why we mentioned it, because I couldn't keep up with my episodes for a little bit and we had to shorten them and you had to take over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So it was a season of like grinding. Mm-hmm. That part's over. Right now I'm in the fun part of just kind of, they send me layouts and images and stuff and I get to say, yeah, that looks good to me.
Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah, that's way better. So I'm really excited. Thank you for asking, and I'll be more than happy to share that once it's available. It will be available this year. I think this fall. So soon.
Excellent. I know, I can't wait. Mm-hmm. I think I'll get a copy.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'll sign it for you.
Excellent. So what is the weirdest history fact that you know?
Oh, no, you put me on the spot. I know so many weird ones.
I know, I do too. You know, the ones that that trip me out though are like anything to do with time.
Okay.
So like,
oh yes, you have good ones.
Like, so like, you know, and especially with Egypt, because Egypt lasted forever, guys. Like Egypt was like a thing for like, cause you have like pre-dynastic Egypt, which we know like almost nothing about. It's literally like Neolithic Stone Age. Mm-hmm. And then you have like early dynastic, Egypt and like the Old Kingdom, right? And then you have like the first not interregnum, the first like intermediary period. Then you have the Middle Kingdom. Then you have another intermediary period, and then you have the New Kingdom, right? And then you have like, you know, they got taken over like a billion times, and you have like it ends in Ptolemaic Egypt,
yeah,
right? And all of that is like 3,000 plus years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Which is insane. So it's like Cleopatra again is closer in time to the iPhone being created than like she was to like the first pyramids being built or the first pharaoh even. Like
that's so weird.
Right. It's that stuff just blows my mind. Or like, but it's also the fact too, it's like that, you know, the Roman, okay, this is really nerdy, but like the Romans weren't known as like good shipbuilders or anything like that, but it's like their biggest ships were so massive.
Oops, sorry.
Wow. Their biggest ships were so massive that they were as big as like our largest airplanes to this day. They had like Nero had it was Caligula. It was it was the Nemi ships. I don't remember which one. I think it was Caligula. He had ships that were just like in the middle of like a teeny little lake, Lake Nemi.
That sounds like a cute lake.
Yeah. And like there were just like massive cruise ships where he'd just have like orgies and like parties on them.
Ew.
And like there was like plumbing on the ships.
On the ship?
Yeah, this is like first century AD. Like I'm like it like heated floors. Like
yeah,
it's just nuts, guys. It's and there was trees like plants like on the ship that like,
and they weren't good shipbuilders allegedly.
Allegedly, right? And I mean to be fair, they didn't have the tradition that like the Phoenicians or the Greeks did. They borrowed like Phoenician and Greek designs. And then once they became masters of the Mediterranean, they kind of just like ditched them and they did their own thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So
these were long history facts.
I know, really long history. Yeah, I know. So that's pretty nerdy. But then also like, so yes, going to Egypt was weird. I love Egypt. There was some artifact that they had, like I think like dagger or a sword, something like that, or a spearhead that some pharaohs used out of space metal. Literally, like
Wakanda stuff.
Well,
like Wakanda
okay,
level
not
stuff?
like Wakanda, but I mean, literally, like asteroids would come down and they'd like take the metal from it and literally create space weapons.
That's like Wakanda.
Yeah.
I'd say for me, the random ones that come up are like, I don't know why this one always comes up for me when I think of weird things in history, but when the United States government wanted to assassinate Fidel Castro, they had like a ton of really stupid ideas as to how to do it. And my favorite one is they were like, okay, guys, so he tends to snorkel in like the same spot every week. So why don't we put a bomb inside a really pretty seashell? Like we make it super pretty that he can't help but pick it up because it's so pretty. And then when he picks it up, it'll explode and he'll die.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Man, the 50s and 60s CIA was wild.
Yes, very wild. The U.S. government has probably some really weird things. Like another one that comes to mind that's a weird history fact is during Prohibition here, they like poisoned alcohol.
Yeah.
They put poison in it because people were still buying it. I feel like people drank more during Prohibition and they got really mad that no one was following the rules, so they were literally poisoning their own citizens for drinking alcohol.
They're like, see, like that'll teach you.
That'll teach you. It's so bad.
What?
Yep. So those are mine.
Yeah, those are yours. Yeah. Oh, also that the fact that there are places. So the Indus Valley civilization in modern day Pakistan, they had running water, like more access to running water in some parts 4,000 years ago than they do today. That's a terrifyingly sad fact.
That's very sad.
Yeah. But it also just goes to show some of the ancient civilizations are so advanced. And then also the Minoans had, like 4,000 years ago, had running, they had toilets and flushing toilets.
Yeah.
So kind of cool.
Definitely some lost wisdom there.
Yeah. Okay, so weird history facts down. So, babe, what's our origin story? How did we meet? Oh, I guess we kind of already answered that. Yeah, so it's like, how did we meet? Okay.
Our origin story sounds really badass, though, when you
I know,
put
I
it
should have
that
said
way.
it. I know. Damn.
Our villain origin story is...
Oh, there we go.
My villain origin story is when I worked for the federal government. And that's why I know all of these fun anarchistic facts.
Yeah.
What's your origin story? Corporate America?
Yeah, I think corporate America is my villain origin story. Like, yeah, I don't want to get into it. It's too...
He's still in the midst of his villain origin story.
Yeah, yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
I'm already a full-on villain, so I can laugh at it.
Yeah. So, what's our favorite episode that we've covered so far?
Oh, okay, we should say one for each other.
Yeah. Okay, you go first.
Okay. My favorite one that you've done. Oh, you've done a lot of really good ones.
I know.
So humble. I know you just mentioned her, but one that comes to mind because it was just so kooky was Maud Wagner, the tattoo artist.
Oh, yeah.
I love that one. I also love, let me see. You have some really good... Oh, Lawrence of Arabia was a really good one.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
The Great Molasses Flood was another really good one.
Damn.
Oh, The Secret Band of Thebes.
Oh, the Sacred Band of Thebes, yeah.
Sacred.
Did you say secret?
Secret.
I know, I was like, I don't think you said sacred.
No. Thebes, that was such an interesting one because that's something that no one ever talks about.
Right, yeah.
And like, I just love that so much. So if you haven't listened to those, I highly recommend you go back and listen.
Yeah. You know, I loved for a while where you had this like femme fatale like trope going on. You did like Mary Bell, Elizabeth Bathory. I can never say her name right.
I think it's both.
Both, yeah. Let's go with both. Yeah, and like those were like just so. And you know what's crazy? Those episodes did really well.
Oh yeah, those were fun. I also did much later, but you're right. Similar theme as like Lizzie Borden.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lizzie Borden. Yeah.
So, Murderous Ladies.
Murderous Ladies. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
That was a good question.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Oh, Okay, so what time period would we want to live in?
Oh, shit. That's a really good one because,
Dude, I
like,
don't
very,
know.
very few to none come
Yeah.
to mind. Because I
I'm-
really like having access to medicine and not super smelly streets and
I mean, studying history has made me realize that like this is one of the best times, if not the best time to have lived in, like ever in human history. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you look at just like everyday life in like the Bronze Age was just like, unless you were absurdly wealthy, like you were basically a king. Mm-hmm. You lived in absolute poverty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
mean-
a really good point. So, like,
The modern comforts we have today are just incredible.
yes, I agree. And we saw some show. I don't even remember what the show was, but we both always crack up at this joke where I think it's three folks, two men, one woman, and they time travel in the show. It's a comedy. And we saw like a preview for it.
Oh, yeah.
And the woman goes, "Why did you have us time travel back to like the worst time period in history for women?" And the guy just looks at her and he's like, "So you mean like all of human history?" So I don't think it would be super fun to travel back. But if I had to, if someone was like, "You have to pick a time," I mentioned it before, I would drop me in New York in the 1920s. Even though I would look terrible in a flapper dress, I still want to party. I want to go watch Duke Ellington perform live. That's where I'll be.
That's a good one. I like that. Because then you can just short stocks in like 1929, and so you could still be rich.
Okay, I would need to take you to remind me to do that because I'd be too drunk off champagne.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think the 1920s, like the Roaring 20s, would be probably a top one for me. Also, I'd probably want to do like the 80s too, just because it's like,
Oh my gosh, you probably just offended so many people identifying the 80s as history. But we're 90s
yes.
babies.
Yeah, guys, we were born in the 90s, so yeah, I apologize to you guys because like we weren't alive in the 80s.
You would want to be an adult in the 80s.
Yeah, I'd probably an adult because then like I'd just be like, oh yeah, I kind of know what happens. You
Yeah,
know,
that's a really good point.
play the market, and then like I'm like, oh yeah, I know.
You'd be a Marty McFly.
I'll be a Marty McFly. I don't why Marty McFly?
He's in the 80s. He's from the 80s. Back to the Future.
Yeah, but I was talking about playing the market.
That's a whole story.
Oh yeah,
line
he has the
in Back
book.
to
Oh
the
yeah,
Future.
isn't it like sports betting?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that too.
Wow. Okay. That just proves that you haven't seen the Back to the Future trilogy enough times. We're going to watch it. We're going to rewatch it.
That's probably true. I probably haven't seen it enough times. It is a classic. I will not fight you on that one.
We both have the same favorite one, though, right?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they go back to the Old West.
Oh, that's so cute.
Because we're super weird.
We're super weird. That'd be terrible. Never mind.
Oh my God. It would be cool.
For like a day.
Yeah.
Or-
And I like the freedom of, the Wild West and
Yeah.
things like that, but also how terrifying.
Right, like ancient Rome, I would love to visit for like a day, like in different, like, be like, I want to see what it looks like in the mid 8th century BC when it's just starting out, right? I want to see what it's like in Julius Caesar's time, or like Scipio Africanus, then Julius Caesar, and then like the end of Augustus's reign, then like Trajan, right? And then Hadrian, right? And you just see it throughout, but I would never want to like actually live there.
Right. Almost like you get to be a tourist there for like
Right.
a day or so.
Exactly. That I would love that. Mm-hmm. I'd love to order like the fast food.
Yeah, that'd be cute. And eat
Yeah.
at a stand there.
Yeah. Yes. Ancient Romans did literally have fast food. Okay. So, what profession would we be in if we did live in ancient times, though?
In ancient Rome, I have already thought about this. If I accidentally travel back in time to ancient Rome because Andrew talks about it so much and the universe like pulls us back there, I'd be
It's a rom-com.
Sorry, babe. I'd go into the spiritual life and I'd be a Vestal Virgin because no one messed with them.
It's true. No one did.
The Vestal Virgins took care of the altar and the flame of Vesta, who was the goddess of the home and the hearth. And emperors even took it very seriously.
Yeah.
You were not allowed to mess with these ladies. But if the Vestal Virgins messed up, they were punished very severely. I think they buried you alive as punishment.
They did. They would bury you alive.
So I'd have to try to be well behaved, but That's probably what I would do. What would you do?
They needed like accountants and merchants, so I'd probably just go into business.
You'd like blow their minds.
I'd be like, guys, let me show you Microsoft Excel.
Meanwhile, I'm literally a woman living in ancient times, so I have to go hide and be in the safest place possible.
So yeah, and it'd be like, guys, yeah, and it's funny because like they had Roman numerals, they didn't have the Arabic numerals yet, so it's like I'd be like, yeah, guys, you don't need all this like this crap. It's
Look at
literally
how
just like
clunky that is.
look at this, like what you have for like a million little symbols. We literally that's just 55. Or what? I actually don't know Roman numerals super well, but yeah,
That's a really good plan.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. Okay, so I think we got the profession down. Now, why did we name Stella Stella?
Oh, you named her.
I did. And people think it's because of the beer Stella Artois, which I actually do like. I do like that beer, but that's not why we named her that. We named her Stella after a streetcar named Desire. You want to do it or do you want me to do it?
You do it.
Okay.
Never mind, I'll do it. You're taking too long. Stella!
That was bad. Okay, hold on.
No! You're too extra.
Stella!
You're too extra.
Yeah,
This is in people's earbuds.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, sorry if I just blew out your eardrums.
So that's why she got her name.
That's why she got her name. Okay, someone asked me this, and I'm like, oh my god, this brought me back to like college. What's our opinion on epic rap battles from history?
They're really cool. I haven't seen those in so long. That's such a good question.
I know. I was obsessed with these in college.
Do you remember any really good ones?
There's one with Julius Caesar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Julius Caesar versus someone. I know, it's really good. I don't even remember who he fought against. I think the first one was like super random. It was like John Lennon versus Bill O'Reilly.
Oh,
I remember that one because I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, how did they like, and especially like the very first epic rap battle, like how do they even come up with that?
I just looked up
Oh,
some.
Hitler versus Darth Vader. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I think that was like a 3-part one.
Mozart versus Skrillex.
Oh man, that would be good.
That's a really good one. Cleopatra versus Marilyn Monroe. That sounds really interesting.
Well, Marilyn Monroe was in real life was actually hot. Cleopatra not. She was just insanely intelligent.
There you go. That solves that one.
Yeah.
Sir Isaac Newton versus Bill Nye the Science Guy. Yeah, this really brought me back. We're going to have to rewatch these.
We're gonna binge these later, aren't we?
Yeah, so thank you to whoever asked that question. I really liked those back in the day, and I used to love, I think it's called Thug Notes.
Thug Notes, yes.
Or it's like Cliff Notes, but this guy like tells them in a really funny way. I love Thug Notes. Please check that out if you have not. Oh, and that reminds me, we keep forgetting to recommend this to you all, but I found an incredible YouTube channel for when you are studying, doing work, writing, or you just want some background noise. It's called Beetle the Bardcore, and you can listen to medieval hip hop.
Guys, we're not joking.
You guys will love this.
Yeah.
Look up Beetle the Bardcore. You're welcome.
Yeah, and no, this is not an ad. We literally like, I mean, today, like I had to do super repetitive stuff at work, and I literally listened to this for an hour and a half, just straight.
Yep. It's really good.
Think of like your 90s, 2000s rap songs, but in like 13th century versions.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just as awesome as you think it would be.
We're going to need to get through these quicker.
Yeah. So, one of my fraternity brothers from college asked this question. Thank you, Ryan. What would happen, or what would have happened if Al Gore never invented the internet?
Literally no idea. I feel like a lot of us would have a lot less anxiety.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Al Gore.
Thanks, Al Gore, for that anxiety. What do you think would happen?
So, if Al Gore never invented... This is such a layered question, too. I love this question. So, okay. Well, the world of commerce would be very, very different. I can tell you that.
Do you think Blockbuster would still be in existence?
I think it would.
That's incredible. I'm really upset with Al Gore now.
I hate you, Al Gore. You invented the internet. Also, for you guys that don't get this joke, it's from like the election in 2000. He famously quipped that he invented the internet, and
he didn't.
Everyone roasted him because
Yeah.
he didn't actually.
So that's an excellent question.
It's funny because like Al Gore ran a campaign of like what not to do, because he was like, Bill Clinton was super at the time he had a really high like approval rating, and Al Gore was the vice president to Bill Clinton. He was like a shoo-in, like, and he did everything wrong. He
like
did
saying he invented the
everything
internet?
wrong, yeah, and he still barely lost. I mean, technically he still won the popular vote, but like, I mean, dude, like this guy just tried to lose.
Maybe. That
Maybe.
doesn't sound like a fun job to have.
No, I wouldn't want to be the president.
I would try to lose too.
Yeah. So, would we travel through a Stargate / wormhole not knowing what's on the other side? No.
Never.
Like,
That
just
terrifies me.
That's like what if you just walk into some cosmic horror?
Yeah.
Like some Lovecraftian shit. Like that would no.
Or my big fear, eternal nothingness.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I can't do it, guys.
Yeah, that'd be even worse.
That'd be even worse. So no, thank you for that question.
That's a really good question. We wouldn't, if we did know what's on the other side, and it's just like, and we can come back anytime, then maybe. Yeah. Okay. So what or who first piqued our interest in history?
I'd say mine's an interesting answer because I think I fell in love with history through my love of books, like fiction and literature. And even prior to that, I grew up really in love with stories. So I love a good history story. My mom had me young. I was an only child for a really long time, and either my mom or my aunts or my abue would just regale me with stories from their lives before me, and I just found this so fascinating, and I think that's what got me interested in books and people's stories and the way that people could live so differently from me.
Right.
Even people that I was related to could have lived so differently from me. I think that fascinated me as a little kid. And even reading like Charlotte's Web, I remember just thinking like, wow, like kids grow up on farms. I don't know how to explain it. It was just this fascination with how have other people lived. What are their stories? What have they been through? That's always fascinated me.
That's crazy. I mean, that's what fascinates me like to this day. I mean, that's partly why I love ancient history, because it's just like, I mean, their world, like you go back like 3,000 years, 4,000 years, it's just like, it would be alien to us. Like their values, like the way they lived, like what they did on a daily basis, even like everything would just be literally like alien. It's almost like another podcast host described it as like, it literally is like science fiction in a way, but it's not, because it happened.
Real.
It was real. But for me, I think the first thing that piqued my interest, funny enough, was a video game.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, you've told me about this.
Yeah, so Age of Empires. Like I was probably like 7 years old, and that was actually my first time I was introduced to Rome.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I knew nothing outside of the video game itself, but I just remember being like, "Oh, this is really cool," you know, and playing like in different civilizations and just learning a little bit about them, at least the military history. I mean,
right, which is what I think a lot of people first think of when they think of history, right? We learn in school like these battles and these revolutions and stuff like that, which interests some people, but not so much others. So
and it's just one aspect of history.
Yes, it's good to remember that it's just one aspect. What was the name of the video game?
Age of Empires.
There you go, folks. Look it up.
Yeah, long time ago, guys. Long time ago. Okay, if Stella could be an empress of any country in any time, who would she be / what countries would she conquer? This is probably the most like creative question I think we got.
That's very creative. Okay, so we alluded to this earlier, but we didn't really directly say it. Stella has, some good qualities, but I would say like intelligence isn't one of them.
Right.
She's not the smartest doggy. She's not the brightest.
No, she's not.
Bulb in the tanning bed, if you know what I mean. So she could be an empress of any country in any time. that country is screwed
Yeah.
if she's their empress, and they probably wouldn't conquer much.
No, they would definitely like starve to death.
Yeah, she'd be pretty selfish.
She would be super selfish, and she would mismanage it, and she'd probably get
She'd
overthrown.
mismanage and get overthrown. She'd be beheaded.
She'd probably, best case scenario, she's deposed
And exiled.
But worst case scenario, she's definitely like decapitated or something.
Yeah, so she might be like a really fun combination of like Commodus and Nero.
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely like a Caligula, Commodus, Nero type.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, so maybe she'd be an Empress of Rome, but
not do well.
Not do well, yeah. I mean, I know Rome is a highly patriarchal society, but just throwing that away for a second.
Because she's a dog,
She's
too.
a dog.
So we could throw away.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, wait, but I know Rome's super patriarchal, but like, she's a freaking
also a
dog.
dog.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next
And then
one?
I think she would she wouldn't conquer.
You're still going?
Yeah, I'm still going. But her legions would conquer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Probably Germania. Anyways, okay, last question that we have, and this is also a fun one. What do we think came first, bread or beer?
Oh.
Right, that's a really interesting question. Because also, guys, beer used to be like you could get all your calories and your
It was like
minerals.
breakfast.
Yeah, it was like a breakfast.
Yeah, lots of people.
Get you a little buzz too.
Yeah, lots of people all over the world ate it because it has lots of nutrients. Like kind of drank it almost.
Yeah, because it was really
like,
thick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It had chunks in it.
Yep. So that sounds tasty. I feel like it's bread. Like someone was making bread and they messed up.
And they made beer.
And they were like, wait, this kind of makes me feel good. So I want to have this now. What do you think?
That's a really... Honestly, I have zero idea. I almost have to flip a coin. Let's go with that.
Yeah, because that's what I would do. I'd mess up making the bread, like trying to make a cute sourdough or something. And then I'd be like, I guess I'll taste it just to see what this is like. And then you're buzzed and you're like, I like it.
Right.
I like it even more.
I know. I love that question. I was so creative. I'm like, okay.
Some of these questions were amazing.
Yeah.
All of them were amazing.
I mean, all of these questions were amazing. Guys, thank you so much. That was so much fun.
Yes, we hope you all enjoyed it as well, listening to us ramble.
Yes, exactly. Like always.
Like always.
Like always. Well, weirdos, that's it for our 50th special episode, our AUA.
And we have something to share with you all.
Yes.
This coming weekend, we will be on a trip to Rome, Italy. So that's also probably why Rome was on our minds today.
That's true.
So we will be taking a little summer break from the podcast. We'll be taking a 3-week break.
Yes.
We will return with a new episode on, let's check the date.
We're going to check the date, guys.
So we get it right for you all.
Yeah, exactly. So, the 25th, I believe.
Yeah, July 25th, we think.
So, yeah, I guess
we're really organized.
Yeah, it's technically a 4-week break, actually.
Oh, scratch that. We're taking a 4-week break.
Yeah.
We'll be back with a brand new episode on July 25th. We also hope moving forward to have some guests on the show to share their expertise in history as well, or their areas of interest at the very least, if not expertise, because we're not experts here. But we just wanted to announce that. And please, if you don't already, follow us on Instagram, because since we won't be uploading new episodes for a little bit, we're going to be posting lots of stories and reels and stuff on Instagram to share this really cool trip with you all.
Exactly.
We want you all to see the cool things that we're seeing.
Yeah, and as always, you can always email us at historyforweirdos@gmail.com as well. Well, I guess, weirdos, that is it for today.
Thank you so much, weirdos, and we will be back in just a few short weeks with more weirdness for you all.
Yes, adios. Yeah. You know it's recording, right?
No!
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.
For the best TV viewing experience, witness the coziest maroons, the most vibrant and brightest moons, the eeriest and darkest tombs, and radiant and vivid hues in any type of room with the Neo QLED and OLED TVs by Samsung. We're supposed to say Samsung, but that didn't rhyme, so you're welcome. Samsung, more wow than ever.